sometimes we're requested to do a groundwater investigation. And with this type of technology, you could also install what we call a temporary monitoring well. And Joe has one over here. This is essentially slotted PVC screen. Okay, it has a filter pack over it. It'll prevent large amounts of sediments from entering into the well casing. And this is just simply solid PVC. So we drilled to 10 feet, right? 2 5-foot sleeves. We got 2 5-foot pieces here. So the screen will go down first. Okay, that's going to interface with the groundwater. Simply, they're going to just slide it down. So now you have a temporary well point, and you've just had a cheap way of grabbing a groundwater sample. Okay, and the temporary wells are good for screening purposes. They're good for initial indication of what type of contamination you're dealing with. A little bit, a lot, it's just a good start. Say the initial results for groundwater and for soil come back contaminated. Soil's minimal, and groundwater is hovering just around the groundwater quality standards in New Jersey. Again, this is for screening purposes. It's usable data, but it's not concrete data. Okay, it's something that you could further evaluate, and that's why we want to show you an installation of a permitted monitoring well.
Now this is using a hollow stem auger. There's a hole in the middle. There's other drilling technologies such as mud rotary and air rotary. Typically they're used for rock, unconsolidated sands and gravels such as we're into right now. The standard is to use a hollow stem auger. Generally you can go down 100 feet. Anything more than that's probably pushing the capability of the hollow stem auger approach. Now this is a well screen. It's a 10 slot that will allow the water to flow through the screen itself. The winch is used to grab the auger to assist in setting a filter pack. In the state of New Jersey, there's specific requirements in terms of how you need to complete a monitoring well for environmental purposes. It's essentially putting a filter pack of sand around the well screen to get a representative sample of groundwater and any chemical constituents that are in it. And it's customary to bring the sand a foot above the top of the screen and then add a bentonite seal on top of that. One of the things you might see in your claim reviews, if you're drilling in contaminated material, that soil that comes up has to be drummed and it has to be disposed of. First off, sampled for waste classification and disposed of in a proper manner. You need 3 monitoring wells to define the groundwater flow direction. So if there's an impact in groundwater, the next step your consultant says, let's put 7 wells in. My answer was always, you don't need 7. Let's start with 3. If those 3 do not delineate the extent of the groundwater impact, the next step, and this is somewhat of an iterative approach in terms of defining the nature and extent of the groundwater contamination, you'll add more monitoring wells as necessary. But in New Jersey and I believe any state, you need to define the extent of the groundwater contamination horizontally in the water to the cleanup level.
Once installation occurs in New Jersey, you have to wait 2 weeks to sample. There's a 2-week mandatory wait period to allow the groundwater to stabilize. A consultant will come back and use different purging methods to remove the water and collect a sample for laboratory analysis. They typically go into some type of glassware or jar, and again, they get sent off to the lab for analysis.